Hey everybody, Professor Snart. Really quick check-in here as we are working through Unit 3, which I'm in our course right here. This is a good example of a unit that has a couple of different folders set up. There's one that's off the bottom of my screen capture right here. So it's important, and hopefully the setup will kind of indicate this to you. The assignment itself, which is here off the screen, the very last folder that I'll pop into, involves reading a short story, Flight Patterns, from our book. There's a brief quiz. Hopefully the quiz is really not designed to test your, it's open book. You can just find the answers. Hopefully it helps point to some of the more important aspects of the story. So it's really kind of like a reading guide or a reading help more than anything else. And then the assignment is you're writing a single body paragraph as it might occur in a full-blown essay. Clearly we're not writing that full essay, we're just doing one very basic kind of paragraph. Truthfully, we're almost more concerned with how you manage the pieces of that paragraph versus the argument that you make. In other words, there's really very few wrong kind of topics that you could put forward, since you're just arguing for an aspect of William's character, who is the main character from Flight Patterns. So he's happy, he's angry, he's nervous, he's anxious, any of those things. As long as you can find a good example from the story, almost any of those will work. But I'm really going to encourage you to not do what I just did, go into Unit 3 and go straight to that assignment. You really have to spend the time working through the content of the class, which is in these other two folders, to understand sort of what's happening in that paragraph assignment. So the concept that's presented here, this idea of the shape of an essay, shape of a paragraph, is really, really straightforward. I'm not pretending it's rocket science or anything super profound, but I think it's absolutely, one of the most kind of fundamental core principles that we learn in terms of the composition or the writing aspect of our class. So it's really important that you attend to the video and really kind of process the idea that's being put forward. You can see it again presented in this non-video format. It's a little bit easier to return to. It's explained fully, it's a very visual kind of thing, so you can see what's going on. There's a further example. So again, I spend a lot of time on this relatively straightforward concept because it is so fundamental to what we're doing. And clearly, what you need to be kind of conscious of is that the concept that's presented here in this folder is ultimately what I'm looking for in terms of application in the assignment. So think of this really simple analogy. If you went to, let's say, history class, and you learn a bunch of dates, birth dates, death dates, wars happened, whatever. And then you're given a fill-in-the-blank quiz or one of those bubble Scantron. And you're asked particular questions about the content you learned in class. Either you get it right or you don't, right? You name the correct year or you don't. You bubble the wrong bubble. Our class doesn't work quite that simplistically, and probably other classes don't either. But there's a clear connection between the content of the course, whether it's face-to-face or online, and then the assessment component, right? You're assessed directly on the content. Keep in mind that that's the same thing we're doing here. In this assignment, I'm looking for the application of this particular concept. So don't go through this concept and then do this other stuff and then forget to apply it, which, I see people do. For some reason, that connection, between like factual information being given in a class and then a multiple choice quiz, there's such a direct connection between content and assessment. People come into an English class and they sort of forget that connection, it still applies. We still have content and we still assess whether you have understood and can now apply that concept. So that's what we're doing here. And then in the middle, we have one of the most important pieces of our course in terms of it being the research class, MLA citation. Hopefully something you've run into before, but if it's new to you, one of the important things to realize is that our course is full of examples, models to follow, never anything that I would expect you to memorize. You're always just following models and examples. You can find tons more stuff in the MLA citation link here, in addition to just these very basic things. So this is really just directing you to that link to look at all of those other resources. A basic quiz, you know, really straightforward. And clearly where this is going to matter isn't in the quiz part of it, but in the writing situation, the actual writing that you're doing for the class. So notice again how the assignment that we finally get to is built on the concepts that are laid out in here and also the material that's laid out in here. So just like any other class, you kind of go to class, you learn that stuff, and then there's a test on it. We're online, so the dynamics are a little different, but it's really not as different as some people seem to think it might be. Alrighty, so as always, keep an eye on those due dates, not just the one that's around the corner, but kind of how they unfold going forward. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I will talk to everybody.